What's going on, guys? I'm Seth. This is Sarah. We just watched The Northman.
I want to kill you if you let me.
Directed by Robert Eggers, starring Alexander Skarsgard, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Willem Dafoe, and Anya Taylor-Joy. Also, Claes Bang, who I'll talk about in this review. The story essentially is about a young Viking prince, Amleth, who witnesses his father's death and decides to go on a long journey of revenge to avenge his father's death and save his mother. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen the him chanting that over and over and over again. We both watched it, and yeah, let's just jump into general impressions, and we'll go into the details. What'd you think of The Northman?
I really liked it, actually. I thought it was a really well-crafted story. I enjoyed, it felt like a very, it's almost like a Viking saga told by Vikings for Vikings. It's very immersive world, you know what I mean? It's a lot of, there are no concessions made to make the story more relatable or modern in any way, which I really appreciated. It's a really immersive world that you're just kind of thrown into. So I enjoyed that about it. Cinematography was super good. Very pretty,
Understatement.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Super good's probably better than very good, but yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it could be expressed even stronger.
Sure. And that's, all things pretty typical of Robert Eggers movies for me. So, yeah, I really felt just kind of thrown into that world, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
I thought that Alexander Skarsgård and Nicole Kidman did a really good job. You really kind of feel a lot of the emotion from the actors, which I thought was good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just jump in. I pretty much agree with everything said. I think one of the best things about this movie, and of course there's going to be people who help with the cinematography and all that stuff, but Robert Eggers in 3 movies now has shown that he is able to create very distinct atmospheres in all 3 movies. That the only thing they really share is that there is a visual darkness to them. But other than that, they all have their own distinct feelings to them. And it's starting to paint this picture of what Robert Eggers brings to the table when he directs a movie. This movie is no different. It has its own tone, but it owns that tone the whole movie. The visuals are incredible. I was absolutely enamored by the visuals. It's one of the best looking movies I've seen since The Green Knight on a cinematography level. Definitely a better movie than Green Knight, in my opinion, as well. But that was the last movie I saw that I was like, this is fucking just wild looking. I love the way this movie looks.
Yeah.
This movie, every single scene was just so designed, so purposeful in everything that just constantly I was looking at the composition of the shots and the atmosphere. So yeah, visually the movie is just a fucking treat. Especially, I'm not going to go into spoilers myself because I feel like a lot of people should watch this on their own and kind of experience themselves. But there are some scenes in this movie that are just incredible looking. Especially one of the end scenes I thought was really crazy, especially in terms of the theming of Vikings and the verbiage they use towards the end of the movie. It's just really great looking. But there's so many scenes in this movie that are just really breathtaking. A lot of scenes in general, not even just the cinematography, but the way they set up the situations are very impactful. There's so many times where I was just watching, I was like, that was fucking dope. That was really they nailed that. Yeah, Alexander Skarsgård, I don't really have a whole lot of experience watching him in anything. I've heard of his name many times, but never really watched him. And at first I was like, okay, he fits this physically for sure. I get why they casted him physically. but I wasn't really feeling much from his performance. But later, he really started showing a lot of layers. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. You know, he starts off a certain way in the movie and becomes. He still maintains that throughout the whole movie, but there is layers that they start adding to the character that he never fails at. So he did a good job. I don't know if I was blown away by him, but him in the movie together worked very well, and I was very satisfied with that. Nicole Kidman, like you said, I think she did a really good job. Her role's actually really interesting because it's kind of not what you expect from it. This whole movie is kind of not what you expect from it. It's kind of billed as like this action Viking revenge movie, and it's absolutely a Viking revenge movie. But there is something after the first act that becomes more intimate in its planning and design in the story that I was not expecting. The movie's trailer really only shows you stuff from like the beginning of the movie and a couple clips towards the end, and that's it. So they really take out a lot of stuff. So not expecting that, not expecting a lot of the switching up they do with like characters and the ones that you think are this, but they're that. And Nicole Kidman did a really good job. It was good to see somebody who's been obviously around a while as an actor, who I thought was going to have like an Ethan Hawke role and barely be in the movie, actually have a little bit more to offer. So that was really cool. Ethan Hawke, barely in the movie, I think he did a great job. He can kind of be in like movies every once in a while. And what's the movie where everybody kills each other? He's in it. It's like in the future. They like lock down and everybody murders each other. You don't remember? What the fuck is that called? Oh my god. The Purge. The Purge. Like he's in movies like that every once in a while, and it's like Ethan Hawke's in The Purge. What the fuck? And he did a fine job there, but like he's barely in this. And I think he did a really good job in his role. I've never heard of this dude, but the guy who plays Fulnir, Claes Bang, I think he did a fantastic job. A little bit in the beginning, he's like barely there, but towards the end, you really feel him a little more fleshed out as a character. You start to see more from him and his story and his side of things. And I think the actor did it. I don't know him. I checked him. He's done like 4 movies. I'd like to see him in more movies. I think he did a really good job. And then Anya Taylor-Joy did a great job in this movie as well. She's really good. And a lot of things, but Robert Eggers and her seem to work together pretty well. Willem Dafoe is of course amazing. He's like briefly in this as well, but he just fucking
memorable.
He does what Willem Dafoe does. He owns his role. Bjork was also kind of interesting too. I thought that was kind of fun that she was in this. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is like all the actors did a fantastic job. They did a really good job on casting. They got some people you know, and they proved this is why you know them. And then they got some people who are like a little less known or, you know, rising, getting bigger, and they all own it. So they did a really good job with the cast. I got no complaints there. And especially with how kind of bizarre some of the stuff in this can be and how crazy they have to be on screen sometimes because they're trying to be authentic and, you know, how it was back then, you know, according to how we interpret it. They do a good job. Everyone's fully committed to their roles and the era, and it was a lot of fun to watch. The story, though nothing revolutionary, which I don't expect that from any movie really, was done really well. And in a way that, like I said before, unexpected. They don't do what you're assuming they're going to do. This isn't the action movie, like I said, that they try and build as. There is combat in it, but it's a more slow, clunky, brutal combat and less of like a highly choreographed action scene that you expect out of movies. But also in the storyline, revenge. You know, there's a million revenge movies. I love revenge movies, so that's an easy way to get me to see your movie. But there's this element of sitting in place and kind of waiting it out. I'm trying to be vague here, that I think works really well. At first I was like, are we really just doing this in this movie? Is this what's going on? But as it starts playing out and as these things start unfolding and kind of like these check marks are being hit and we start playing with more like mysticism, which I want to touch on a bit more in a bit, it really works its way to a very satisfying finale that I really enjoyed. So at this point, I mean, Robert Eggers for me is 3 for 3. He's made 3 great movies. He's done some shorts, I guess. I haven't seen any of them. But, I mean, this dude is a director worth keeping your eye on. He hasn't missed for me yet. And this movie just shows for me that he can play in different realms and different themes and different stories confidently while keeping his signature brand to it, which is really exciting because for me, this is a new director. He's only made 3 movies, so he's got a long future ahead of him, and I think he's just been doing better and better and better. Also, it's been cool too to see that he did The Witch, which is like this cool little like bizarre horror indie flick kind of. It's pretty indie. The Lighthouse is like a middle ground that's just fantastic. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. And then and that one's almost like a comedy to me. I think it's just a funny movie, but so good. We'll review it at some point. And then this is like his first step into something larger. It feels like an epic, but it also still feels like a smaller indie film. It starts out big, like where you're going like, oh, this is like a big Hollywood movie. But then it kind of gets to this point where you're like, oh, this is like a tight-knit little almost indie film as well with these big set pieces. It's kind of cool the way they kind of did it. So yeah, Robert Eggers is really knocking out of the park with every movie I've seen from him. And I'm at the point where whatever his name is on next, I'll be seeing it for sure. I'm sure we will be seeing it for sure. Yeah, so cast is great. Directing's good. Not only is the cinematography really good, the set design was awesome. Everything was so fucking cool looking. It looked so old, so small, so quaint. The towns were like these little villages, super detailed. There's a couple scenes of like raids happening. I'll keep it vague, where the camera's just kind of going through these small little villages, but there's so much stuff going on that you get this sense of, it's not a sense of like action, like I said. It's almost disturbing to watch this like ransacking happen in this intricate and planned out way, and that really is supported by the set design. The set design really makes it seem like people are living in these locations. And then outside of set design, where they're shooting is incredible. There's some really cool. I don't know if they shot this in Iceland, but it's based there, and everything's very bleak and very like it's hard to live here. So it really kind of backs up all these like really like everyone in this movie just seems like they've been through some shit. They live in tough times and deal with tough things. And yeah, I really liked that. I also enjoyed too that everybody was doing a accent that wasn't a British accent. I was expecting that, and everybody had more of like a I don't know if it's Icelandic accent, but they're all going for that accent, which was really nice because a lot of movies either they're speaking American accent or British, and that's it. And I'll accept that. That's fine. I can do that, whatever. But I'm glad that they went for that, and I really think that was Robert Eggers wanting that to happen, because if you listen to him talk about The Witch, he seems very intent on trying to strive for accuracy. It's of course not going to be 100% accurate, but he at least wants
in the
it.
Lighthouse too.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's only the 2 of them, but
yeah, The Witch, I just remember seeing that interview where he's talking about that, and I kind of appreciated it then, and it's kind of been in all of his movies. So, and even if he doesn't 100% nail it, I've seen people go like, well, this wasn't accurate. Well, first off, what do you know? But secondly, he's trying. That's the point. Like, it's a fucking movie. But anyway, I think he does a great job in striving for that. And yeah, I want to throw the ball back to you, but one last thing I kind of want to say is this movie, you've seen it in the trailers, plays with mysticism in a really interesting way. A lot of times it'll show scenes that are induced by drugs that seem really out there. But then there's also times where it'll show something unreal, and then after it'll show a different result, as if you could either believe that it actually happened like that or it happened in his head. Because of faith in believing, Valhalla and Odin and all that stuff. There's a lot of scenes like that in the movie where it's represented in their mythology, but then it's also explained in a realistic lens. And I think that's really fucking cool because it allows Robert Eggers to keep it grounded, but also play with fantasy. And I really enjoyed that. It was fun to see interpretations and then a realistic way to explain that in a movie that's otherwise realistic. I would have been fine if they just went full fantasy with it, but they really play with it as if like, you're either believing in their mythology or you're seeing it the way people would probably see it. So I thought that was a really cool touch, especially because, again, Robert Eggers is not afraid to fuck around with like weird shit in his movies. His last 2 movies definitely do that. So, yeah.
I guess that's like one thing that I really appreciated about it, and kind of what I mean when I say it's like this Viking saga, like told by Vikings for Vikings, because they have these like, their sagas and eddas, and they play a lot with like these basically like religious texts. They're these like stories that are supposed to teach you something, but they don't always like. There's always this like mysticism to it, like the like you said, they're like these drug induced things, and there's a lot of like symbolism and like the CRS and all that stuff. It kind of really plays into this like Viking like mythology, which I really appreciated about it. It feels like a Viking movie. And I like that there's this balance of like, yes, this is happening, but also like, yes, this is just, what we believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the attention to detail that I think Robert Eggers has in all of his movies and just kind of rings true in this movie too. It feels like everything is very crafted. Like everything that you're seeing, like everything that's being presented to you is very intentional and like well thought out. I appreciated the beginning. It kind of like sets this tone of just this revenge movie, without too many spoilers. It's just really like gritty and raw. And then, he has this like a moment of coming back to like his purpose basically. And, it kind of like evolves the story a little bit. But you still have this like really raw tone throughout the movie.
Well, one thing you're kind of reminding me of that I didn't really touch on either is that there's Vikings in movies. There's probably movies about Vikings. I haven't seen many of them. There's shows about Vikings. The thing I really enjoy about this, playing with this, is the beginning does thrust us into this world. It serves as us getting used to the characters, but also getting used to the world, which is brutal. Everybody who's heard about Vikings, like, oh, they raid and pillage and all that stuff. But in this, it'll show that kind of thing, and it shows, characters participating in that kind of thing, but it doesn't glorify it. So it's just like of the era. You also see slaves at one point.
It doesn't glorify it, but it also doesn't water it down. It's
exactly.
Just like
it's just there.
It just is.
Yeah. And so, but every character is living in that world, so they're all kind of adapted to it and used to it. So we also don't spend time focusing on it. It's just there, and you kind of think about it after you're like, wait, that what I think was going to happen just now, like, because it goes to the next scene, like, and so I just like that it is a Viking movie that owns the good and the bad of the times in a neutral lens. So yeah.
Some of the camera shots were really cool. There's one like when he's in sort of like this underground area, and there's like a light coming down, and it's just on him, and then suddenly he's standing there, and the camera just pans over, and it's just a lot of like really interesting
they do a lot of cool things. Even in the beginning, a little after the main like first act ending, it shows the boat going down the river, and then the second boat comes by, and the camera starts moving forward onto the river, but then enters the boat. And I thought that shot was really cool. It's simple, but like I was thinking about like, did they crane it over? Is this two shots? Like I think about that shit every time I see moving cameras. I'm like, how are they doing this? Is it CGI? Is it real? Hope it's real. And then, it pans over, somebody does something to someone on another boat, and then it looks at that guy, like the way the cameras just kind of move around on this boat. It's a small boat. It's intimate. This whole movie feels really intimate. There's a lot of indoor shots. There's a lot of surprisingly, a lot of roof shots that always feel tight. Always feels like you're right in with it. So yeah, I agree with that. And the one you're talking about where he's in the hole, there, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun stuff in that scene in general, but the camera work was a lot of fun as well.
Yeah. I one thing I appreciate about Skarsgård in the movie is,
He's 9 feet tall.
They do have this. There's almost like a like you have the kind of beginning which sets up, his story, and then you have this next part which kind of builds like who he's become as like a young man, and the way he kind of carries himself throughout the movie changes, and then there is a part where he's trying to be subtle about who he is and where he is and things like that. So I really appreciate how much acting he does just like with his body.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting.
As somebody who's not familiar with him as an actor, I mistook that early on as him just not acting very well. I thought they just cast him because he's ominous looking, because he's fucking gigantic and towers over everybody. But yeah, later he does. He starts adding, like I said before, layers to his character that feel purposeful and also just correct to the circumstances, especially with how his character slightly evolves given people he meets. But yeah, I think he did a good job for sure. I just thought it was funny too, because like I said, I'm not familiar with the guy, and I'm like looking at him next to everybody else. I'm like, yeah, he looks like a Viking. Like he's like hunched over and he's like a foot taller than everybody else. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy's huge. Yeah, a couple of things I want to touch on unless you have something else to say about Alexander Skarsgård. I kind of want to talk about the combat again, because like even one of the synopses I read on like a website when I was doing pulling well, this one right here, if I got IMDb, it says an action-filled epic. I guess it's technically action-filled, but that makes it sound like an action movie. This movie, if you're going in for like an action movie, it's not. Like, you're going to be sitting there living in this world with these characters going on this journey of revenge. There is combat in it, and there's brutality in it, and there's fucking noses getting cut off. But this is not like a highly choreographed in that way or action movie. There is one scene I think was like choreographed like really well, because it was a pivotal moment in the movie. But the rest of it's more like the brutality is front and center. It's about that people are getting killed in brutal ways by commanding presences. That was another thing too I want to talk about. I think it's interesting that like every character in this movie, all of them, all have like commanding presences. It's like, to live in this world, you got to be fucking hard.
Yeah.
Even if you're a victim, like everybody's just like, I'm fucked. It's not like, oh God, I'm a victim. It's just like, well, I guess I'm fucking dead, or well, I guess this is happening. I really enjoyed that thematically across the board, everyone felt like they all belonged to the like same like region, the same area. Like it all felt cohesive, and like I said, it just has this commanding element to it in the way that it feels like this is culture. This is a people, which I really loved. But yeah, just thought of that when I was talking about that. But yeah, this isn't John Wick. This is a Viking movie about revenge. I mean, like I said before, it has a lot of like mysticism in it. I think there's more of that than action in the fucking movie. Like there's a lot more like thematical things going on in this movie than watching some people. And even when there is fights, it's like brief. It's like a quick moment, because it's more about that happened than it is happening. It's about that this guy tried to kill this guy, or this guy did kill this guy, or this guy took out 3 dudes and then they beat the fuck out of him, or whatever. Like it's more so about the moment and not the action. So not to say that it's not like bad looking. I just can't stress enough every time I hear people talk about this like it's action movie. I'm like, it's not. Yeah. It's not. Yeah. I thought the music was really good too.
Oh yeah.
Not the best ever, but really good. There's some moments that I thought the music really worked in certain scenes. But overall, a really good score for the movie. Super fitting, memorable, which is good, because sometimes you just hear like, music made for a movie real quick, and then you're like, yeah, it works for the scenes, but whatever. But this had some standout songs that I thought were really good. And yeah, just amazing. It was
never like overpowering.
No,
or like taking away from anything. It was just very subtle, like just adding layers to like what Eggers has already presented,
Mm-hmm. also appreciated too. It's not really a spoiler, but I mean, they early on kind of play around with berserkers, which everybody's heard about when it comes to Vikings. People who like go on like drug induced trips and like fucking just raid places and go crazy. It was fun to see that in a movie. It comes off bizarre in a modern sense. You look at people doing what they're doing in this movie. I'll keep it vague. And you're just like, that's like crazy that they're even acting like that. But then you see like, by dawn they're running in and murdering people and shit. So there's like amp themselves up and getting crazy. I thought it was like, it's kind of cool to see it that way, especially the way they played off of being animal like. It almost came off like shaman like. It was very interesting. So they're not shown in just like one way you expect Vikings to be presented in a movie. There is a sense of like, what the fuck are they doing? But like, it's cool because you're like, holy shit, these guys are nuts. Like, if you're willing to act like a fucking fool in front of everybody, you're willing to go fucking murder people, you're probably pretty brutal. And so I really enjoyed that as well. There's a couple scenes where there's rituals that are happening that were just fun to watch. Half the time I'm like, I wonder how authentic this is. I'm sure there's research behind this, but it's really just interesting to watch because it's not stuff, obviously we do nowadays. For the most part, maybe somebody does. Whatever you do behind closed doors.
I think that's one thing that Eggers does so well. He just builds these worlds, and instead of, explaining things a certain way or like telling you why you should feel a certain way, he's just telling you a story, and he tells it so well, and it's so like thought out, and there's so many like details that are just being shown to you that you just feel the way you're supposed to feel. Like no one's telling you how you're supposed to feel. And I just think he just tells such good stories.
Yeah,
he did that again this time.
I agree. I think he's a very good storyteller. I think he picks stories that are worth telling.
Yeah.
Anyone can make a Viking movie. He made a Viking movie that I think you should watch. Anyone could make a Lighthouse movie, and some people have, we've seen them.
I forgot about that.
And they're all oddly interesting enough. They're not necessarily good, but they're interesting enough to watch. But Robert Eggers picked a Lighthouse movie, and he made something you should definitely watch. And then I guess some people have played around with witches in movies, but his story of a witch, I guess to be vague about that as well, is a story worth telling. So again, kind of what I said at the beginning of this, if he has a movie coming out, for me, that tells me there's a story worth telling until he releases something that I'm like, well, that wasn't that great, but I haven't seen it yet. So
yeah,
no one can, always make great movie. Well, there's a couple directors who've just knocked him out every single time.
I just feel like
but he's got a really good record so far.
Yeah, and he takes these things and I feel like he's learning and growing too. There are parts in the Northman that look and feel so much like the Lighthouse, especially from like a cinematography stance. And like the ending scene reminded me a lot of the ending scene in the Lighthouse.
Interesting.
And there's just this like, if you're familiar with the Lighthouse, it's like this whole black and white thing, and there's just moments where he really plays with that in the Northman too, and those moments are just, I don't know, there's something just so like eerily beautiful about the way he shoots those scenes.
Yeah. On that note, something I was thinking about while we were watching it that I knew when I bring it up would be weird, but I'm probably the only person who's even thinking about this. I loved the lighting in the movie. A lot of the indoors scenes, I was looking at it, and all the light sources were actually from like fire. So there was like a lot of darkness in the indoor scenes, and it felt authentic. I've seen a couple of movies try this as well, but a lot of times you can tell there's some ambient light in the background to lighten the room up, and there's probably in this as well. So maybe they're bumping the contrast. I don't know, but the scenes look so dark, and like the contrasts on the face, the shadows, it gives it. This movie also plays with night a little bit throughout the movie, and so there's a lot of dark scenes, And they do a lot of really cool stuff with those visuals, or even dawn coming. Like, there's a lot of really cool lighting in the movie that I was very impressed with. Like, from the beginning of the fucking movie, I started watching this and I was like, wow, the lighting looks really good in this movie.
I mean, I know that he did that in the lighthouse. All the lighting in the lighthouse is like actually the light that you're seeing in the room. That's why some of the scenes look so dark, especially.
Yeah, it's like, especially that scene where Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson are like at the table talking. Like, the only light source is like in the middle of the table, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it does a lot of cool lighting on their faces and stuff while they're talking. Gives a lot of scenes, really cool visuals.
Yeah.
Which again are in this as well.
Yeah.
A lot of
I
lighting
just wouldn't
that
be surprised if that was actually what was happening, because
yeah,
I
I think
know
he's
that
just
he's done that
striving for that
before.
authenticity.
Yeah.
So he's going for like, well, what would lighting actually be like back then? There's a certain level where you have to increase, your exposure and stuff to make sure that people can even see what the fuck's happening. But
Yeah.
if you plan your shot good, you're gonna play with contrast of background light with shadows and all sorts of stuff to make a scene work in a way that better suits your vision than just having a bright night because you're lighting it and then turning a blue filter on or something.
Yeah.
So, which he doesn't do here. There's a scene at the end. It's the end scene. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but the visual of it is just so cool given the theming. I already said this, but also the location and the way they play with the contrast of the background and the foreground, and the best choreography of the movie, like, absolutely. And then the impact of the event that's happening. I just really fucking loved it. It felt almost like Shakespearean to me. It was fucking so cool looking, especially thinking about Hell, Valhalla. The actual end too was really cool. Playing with that mysticism. It's oh fuck. I almost want to talk about, but it just fits the idea that regardless of his decision and the outcome, fate was meant to be that way, and there's no reason to I guess feel bad about it. I don't know. I don't want to say too much. It's just like, this was meant to be.
Threads
really
of
cool
fate,
shit.
dude.
Yeah. And also coming from playing Elden Ring recently, seeing a lot of the stuff that is inspired by the same stuff Elden Ring's inspired by was really cool to see. I was like, the visuals in this are really fucking cool, and they really go crazy with it. So, but yeah, all in all, I really liked this movie a lot. I don't know if I'm ready to say, not that I need to be comparing them, I don't know if I'm ready to say I like it more than The Lighthouse, but
I need to see it about 12 more times.
Yeah.
Before I can say.
yeah,
whether
I
like
think
it
I
or
would need to
The
watch it more
Lighthouse.
too. But because I was going to say, like, is this his best movie yet? I would say you could absolutely make a case for that, especially if you're talking about a bigger movie. I think he handled it very well. But Lighthouse is just so fucking charming for how fucking weird it is.
And you can also see, I feel like, clearly see like his growth as a director
100%,
from
yeah.
The Lighthouse to this movie. So, in that aspect, I guess you could say it's his best movie, because he's clearly like taking what he's learned each time and improving upon it from, his standpoint. But yeah, The Lighthouse is just,
It's just like too charming, dude.
I just love
for
it
how-
so much.
it's bizarre and weird, but it's like, I just really enjoy watching it. And just the fun that they have with
Yeah.
that movie is so
The
good.
Northman will never be just two actors locked in a house
Yeah,
together,
exactly. Yeah. Pure acting. That's
Yeah,
it. Like-
exactly.
Like, it's an exercise in
Yes.
acting, whereas like the Northman is like more of a set piece that has like a lot of big epic events, but also just a lot more to chew on, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of. But yeah, last thing I'll say, I guess, on this before we grade it is Robert Eggers at this point is probably one of the newer directors I think people need to keep their eyes on, for sure. I don't need to say this. Everybody knows that who's watching his movies. But I remember when I first started seeing like Denis Villeneuve movies, I was like, holy fuck, dude, this guy's going to be like huge. And like at this point, I think he's one of the best directors out there right now. If that's not like of the old guard. I think Robert Eggers is on the same track, not in the same way. He's not making these big sci-fi flicks or these crazy like cerebral movies, but he's making these like trying to be authentic, dark imagery, stories worth telling movies that are just getting better and better and better. So his career's exciting me. I'm stoked to see what he makes next. Anything else you want to say?
No.
All right. Go ahead and give it a grade for anybody who's not familiar with TLG, our gaming podcast. We do grades A, B, C, D, and F, and then the variables of that. So what would you grade the Northman?
I feel like I have to say that Robert Eggers is like my favorite director, so I'm kind of a Robert Eggers like fangirl. So I definitely think I had a lot of expectations for this movie, but I feel like they were all met. I think it's just Robert Eggers doing what Robert Eggers does, and I know I've said it already. But
Before you grade it, was the movie as good or better than you thought it was going to be?
I think it was better.
Yeah, I think it was a little better than I was expecting, but I was already expecting to be really good.
Well, I was too.
Yeah.
And then I was just pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I remember like the first like 2 minutes watching, I was like, I love this movie.
Yeah,
Just
I know.
like already like
No,
watching
as
everything.
soon
I
as
was
it
like,
started, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like.
so anyway, not
here's-
to.
I was worried though. Like I was worried because it is the first Eggers movie that is like more mainstream.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I was like, oh, like we're just gonna get watered down Eggers.
Yeah, people were attacking it before it came out like it was a big budget mainstream movie, and I'm like, hold on, dude, this guy's made like 2 movies before this. Chill, go
Yeah.
attack somebody else.
Yeah,
Like,
I really, really did have a fear that it was gonna be just super watered down,
just sold out. Here's a big
Well, not that
action
he
epic.
would sell out, but like that, he's being held to these just, standards he has to meet or
Taking
whatever.
money from certain people, producers step in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that. It was absolutely an Eggers movie. And again, it was absolutely him progressing as a director. So, I mean, I feel like I have to give this movie an A+.
Give it an A+.
A+.
God damn.
I love this movie.
You loved it.
I loved it.
That's fair. I'm teeter-tottering between 2 grades, but I don't have any negatives about the movie. I think I'm going to go with a strong A. I really liked it a lot. I loved a lot of elements of it. The story is good. The story wasn't amazing. That sounds like an insult, but it was really good. But everything else about it was like fantastic. I fucking loved it, and the way that they handled the story was really cool. I really liked some of the ways they played with it, in a lot of ways, subverting expectations without fucking completely destroying your movie. People who run Star Wars at Disney. Anyway, and yeah, really, really smart stuff they did with this, while also maintaining a pretty simplistic storyline, which I think, is fine. He's telling a story that's worth being told. So yeah, I feel confident giving an A. I almost thought about A- just because I was like, am I just fanboying? But like fanboying for me, I guess I'd be hopping up to an A+ as well. But I feel good with A. I think it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I feel good with A+, so.
yeah, it's fair. You're a Robert Eggers fangirl though.
Well, I also
love this movie, so I get it.
historically also a Viking fan of like Viking mythology.
Well,
so
if it's dorky Viking shit, then
well,
you'd hate it.
Then exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like he really respected that aspect of the movie,
I agree.
and so like fucking checking all the boxes.
Yeah,
Except no Robert Pattinson. So
we do. True. We do recommendations over on TLG. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but is there anybody? Would you recommend this to everybody or specific people?
that's kind of funny because I have a tendency to recommend The Lighthouse to everybody because it's one of my favorite movies.
I would recommend this to more people than that movie.
Well, yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking, but one of my favorite things about that is because The Lighthouse is such a weird movie, that when I tell people it's my favorite movie and that they should watch it, I've gotten a lot of strange feedback from people who are like, that's her favorite movie?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people would see that movie and not know what the fuck's going on.
So I just really like the reaction I get from people when I get them to watch The Lighthouse. So like on that note, I feel like this movie is far more accessible than The Lighthouse is.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess I would recommend it to people who are a fan of storytelling, fan of Vikings or Norse mythology. like visually interesting movies. I think this does a lot of cool visual stuff.
Yeah. I think I would recommend it to most people, especially if you're looking for a Viking movie. I honestly can't think of a Viking movie I think is better than this. So if you're into the idea of Vikings, you want to see a good Viking movie, I would recommend this to you with the caveat that it does have action, and it's not bad action, but it's not also focused on it. So don't think you're just going to watch like this brutal. You're not watching 300. But if you want to watch like a Viking revenge flick, this is definitely really good. But also anybody who's just looking for something new, an interesting story that's not too complicated, doesn't play with a lot of stuff where you got to really think hard about shit. There's stuff you can think about for sure, but it is pretty straightforward in a lot of the stuff that it does. This is definitely I mean, in the theater we were in, there was people who brought like the whole family. There's like babies running around the theater, children everywhere, and there's like naked people and people getting their heads fucking chopped off and
Guts.
people screaming, fucking guts hanging out, and there's just like 2 seats away from me like a 8-year-old sitting there by himself with some popcorn just watching, and I'm like,
So weird.
what the fuck was your fucking parents at, dude? So I guess I'll recommend this to kids, dude. Joking.
everybody.
I'll let the parents decide on that. But yeah, definitely check it out. It's absolutely in this year so far, definitely one of the must-see movies, I think. So definitely check it out, 100%. And especially if you're a Robert Eggers fan, you probably already watched it, but you should watch it. You're not gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. I think we covered a lot here. There's probably much more we could talk about. But yeah, we both really liked it a lot. Big surprise. Let us know in the comments what you guys think of the Northman. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What did you think of Alexander Skarsgard's performance? What do you think about Anya Taylor-Joy? What do you think about Robert Eggers? Are you a fan of his? Are you not a fan of his? What would you like to see him tackle in the future? And yeah, let me know everything you're thinking about. My name's Seth. This has been Sarah. And until the next review, have a good one.